Good to see you, sir.
Ashok Venugopal from New Indian Express. It's the first home game. Your team has always done home. What are the areas you're looking to improve on your home game?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, we're delighted to be back at home. It seems a long time since we had a fantastic run at the end of last season, culminating in some super victories. So it'll be nice to get back in front of our own fans. It seems a long time since we played, obviously, at Odisha. It's been 12 days. And so the scheduling certainly hasn't been kind to us. The teams all played 3 games by the same time. Mohammedan certainly 2 games in the same period. But the boys are hungry, they're excited, they're looking forward to playing the game. And what we have to do, to your point, is get to the level of performance at Odisha, and the little things that we can do better, because we can. Make sure that we're focused on them. If you even look at the first goal at Odisha, when we probably felt we could have had a penalty with Farouk, but we've still got to be in the moment, playing every action of the game. Because something is a penalty, it's one long ball, and you've conceded a penalty. That being said, the character, the quality was shown. That was exemplary. It was there for everyone to see. So that's what we need to do. I mean, I've told you before, I said this last season, one game doesn't define your season. We have to continue to work. I do believe the longer the season goes, the stronger. And the league's already shown it's going to be a very competitive league this year. So it's exciting, but we're looking forward to being at home. We're looking forward to improving on those little bits. At one end, obviously being more, not giving up soft goals, the best way I could put it. Even the second goal, it's so avoidable, and that's because it's late in the game. People think they've won the game, and what the ISL is certainly showing this season, there's so many late goals. The game is never finished until you hear that final whistle. So that's a focus, it's a concentration. It's a good question, because those are really important parts of the game, because if we add those qualities with the footballing ability and the desire these boys have, then that will serve as well. So certainly it was a great first win, but that's all it was. That's finished with. We have to focus what's in front, and we have to look to continue to improve, because that performance, as good as it was, we need to be better for the rest of the season, and that's what we aim for. So looking forward to being at home, looking forward to seeing our own fans and getting on the field and trying to do them justice.
Coach, this is Hnamte from Sportstar. I'd like to talk about the disciplinary errors that led to the penalty initially in the previous game, and the fact that Chennai let another goal in later on in the game. Are those things a matter of concern for you?
It's when you say disciplinary, you mean in terms of we switched off, which I've just explained. Yeah. So I think that's a focus and a concentration, and that's what happens at football. It happened last night, actually. If you watch the Mohanbagan game in North East, Mohanbagan have actually got a great chance to score, and everybody's thinking we're going to score. It doesn't. And North East break on a counter attack, and within 5 seconds, and that's what happened to us last week. We're in Farouk. I've seen it back. I certainly, in my opinion, it's a penalty. It's not given. But when that happens, we have to be ready for the next action. And we were in the position to deal with that, but because we're all caught looking, was it a penalty? It's just one long ball, and Hugo Boumos is on it. He's a fantastic player in the league. Is it a penalty? Is Hugo Boumos very clever? Anyway, but we suffer from it. But the great thing about it, as we've always shown, the mentality we have, the desire to come back into a game. I mean, you've got to. I think it's really important you put this into perspective as well. This was a team that were playing that went 569 days, nearly 2 years, not losing at home. And to come from behind and give the level of performance. But you're right, the point you make, I alluded to it earlier, that focus, that concentration, the same at the very end, that's avoidable. Now, teams are always going to create chances, because opposing teams have some very, very good players. So we have to be ready for that. But the stuff that we can control, then we need to do better than that. So I do accept it's not an area of concern, it's an area for working on and making sure that we're better as we move forward.
Hi Coach, Hnamte, this is Srigatsan from Times of India. Best wishes for the game.
Thank you.
Coach, you've seen the opposition, they've shown great fighting spirit in their first 2 matches, despite being debutants and new to the stage. So your thoughts on their team, do you think they could be unpredictable given that they've played only a couple of matches and you don't have much videos to look up?
Yeah, no, I think Mohammedan, as they always have been, I mean, this is a club enriched in the fabric of Indian football, a club with a fantastic history, an amazing history. And the bits I know about the club, we played them last pre-season, so at Mohammedan's club last July, and got to know their actual football club because I took her out a really good walk around the facilities. So much so that I actually became aware, because obviously my team back in Scotland was Glasgow Celtic, but Mohammedan had one of the most famous players that actually played for Glasgow Celtic for a period of time. And at the time, he actually played barefooted. So I think it might be in the 1930s or way back. One of the most famous Mohammedan players. The name escapes me in a moment, forgive me, I'll get his name. But and having played, so when I was going round and seeing the history, the trophies they won, this is a club with a great history. And now that they come into the ISL, they're not coming in to stand back and applaud everybody. They've already shown in their 2 performances that they're a good side. They've got a very, very good coach. He's did very well at the club, obviously winning the league, and they've added to the squad. Got some very good players. Obviously the big centre-back, 4, 10, 9, Franca, the striker, the Brazilian. Looked very good having coming in because the big, obviously, lad that started the first game is a handful as well. Choti we know, Amarjeet I know, so they've got good pieces, they've got good players. I felt they were very, very unfortunate to lose the first game against North East. I think maybe a draw would have been fair in that game. And then the other night, Mohammedan should have won that game. They were Manolo said it himself. Mohammedan were far better. But that's maybe the learning curve that they're on coming into ISL. So we're very respectful, very complimentary of what they are. But I've said before, we respect every opponent, but we do not fear anybody. And particularly back at home, we look to play our game, making sure my boys get to their very best. And if we're at our very best, then that's a game that we can win. But we have to be at our best to do that. So, full of respect for Mohammedan, I think they'll do well. They've shown good flair, and I'm excited. I'm looking forward to the game. I think it'll be a really good footballing game.
Hello, Coach. This is Rahul.
Good to see you.
Coach, is a 10-day break far from ideal? Because given the momentum from the first game, you want to carry it forward, right? Is it far from ideal, or is it an advantage for you?
Well, not to pull you up in your numbers, but it's a 10-day break till just now. It'll be a 12-day break till we play. So yeah, that's, again, I mentioned it earlier. I don't think the scheduling has been kind to CFC, out with the fact that we played the second game of the league and then we had to wait 12 days. Within that 12 days, Punjab will have played 3 games because they play tomorrow. Mohammedan's played 2 games in that space, and we've obviously had to not sit idle, we've worked really hard on the training ground and prepare for the game. But of course, you would like a flow of, as normal, maybe like back home, you played a week or whatever. But it is what it is. I mean, we have 7 of the first 10 games away from home. So the scheduling, it is what it is. We don't moan about it. We see it for what it is, and what we do is we prepare for the games, make sure we're at our best. And if we're at our best, we know we can win games. So that'll be the key for us getting to our maximum. It's not an ideal situation, as you say, it's quite a period of time, but listen, it is what it is. We have to make the best of it. We're back at home in one of the few games we've got in the first 10 games. So we want to make sure that we do our very best. That being said, we're playing against a good side, an outstanding coach, and but we know when we're at our best that we can stand toe-to-toe with anybody. That's what we need to do.
Hnamte, I have a question for you.
Please.
To you as well.
Oh, sorry. Me first. Okay.
You were not celebrating the goals against Odisha FC, whereas Hnamte was animated after Forbes scored his second goal. Any particular reason for?
No. I did celebrate the goals. So what happened, obviously, when the players have scored the goals, and I've celebrated, by the time the camera comes back to me, I'm in the next moment, I'm in the next action. So when we score, I celebrate immediately. You know me, and if you actually look back at the games, you'll see that. But as soon as it's done, I'm then in the next moment, and that's what I need my players to be. Celebrate, and then as soon as it's done, and he celebrates because of how well he done, and how well he continued to do it. I'm excited about where he can get to, but he's got still, and he'll tell you because I speak with him every day, he's still got so many more things to learn if he wants to evolve and become, a top player. But he's got fantastic qualities. That's why I brought him to the club. I remember when I seen him back in when he was at East Bengal, back in the bubble, and he caught my eye, and I thought, wow, who's that kid there? Got to look, watched all his games, and continued to follow his progress. And fortunately, I spoke to him back in January. I was desperate to get him in the club. I knew he was going to come out of contract, and I knew if hopefully the little bits that we can help can make him he's a young man, but can grow and develop him to be a top player, which he has the capabilities to do. Now, as much as we will pass on information, the only person who will decide how far he goes will be himself. But he works ever so hard in training every day. He comes and he asks, he's inquisitive, he's listening, he's learning, and he has to keep bringing it on the field. And not only me, but his teammates love him because of what he brings as a team player, and that's really important. You know, he's wonderful qualities as a young man, not just a footballer, and that's the type we like to bring to the club. But in terms of celebration, I mean, the boys will find you the footage. Nobody celebrated more than me, but as soon as it's done, then I have to get in and get my team ready for the next action, and that's what we do.
Hnamte, was there any particular reason for your celebrations? Any trying to send out a message to anyone?
Nothing much. I just do what's coming in my mind.
How happy are you with your performance in the first match?
I'm happy. Yeah, of course, we win the game. The most important is not about myself, but if we win, and that's great.
Is that on? Does that answer that?
Coach, I have another question for
Yes,
you.
please.
The first press conference you said you have two equally good players for each position.
Yes.
Then your job becomes tough to keep the whole squad happy, the guys who are not playing in a particular match. How do you deal with that? I mean, do you select the team based on training, or is it tactical? Can you?
Yeah, no, I think it's a great question, but it's that's as I did think that's much better. As a coach, that's the problems you want. I don't want when I have players out of form, out of sorts, and I think I maybe have 5 players doing well, others aren't. I want every one of those. If we say we have 2 players for each position, I want every one of those 20 outfield players, the 2 goalkeepers, fighting and competing, because then that gives me a selection headache, and that's what you want. I want to say, well, okay, well, he's did really well, and ultimately, when they're given the jersey, if they play well, they'll stay in the team. There will be times, to your point, I think it's a really good question, there will be times that you come up and you maybe have to tactically tweak something, or maybe you think, oh, maybe this player's better for that job. But in the main, if players are playing well, they'll stay in the team because they know their job and they've earned it, which I always ask. But the great thing is, I've said to them, and they all know this, whether it be a young Indian lad, whether it be a top foreign player, it will be a fair fight, it will be on merit, it will be on the merits of what you do. Not what you've done last year, what you're doing now, what you're doing in the training ground every day, what you're delivering in matches. That will determine whether you play and whether you don't. So it's got to be that way, because everybody's got to feel, yeah, it's fair, it's a fair fight, and I have a chance to push by. And you know, if Hnamte's got his spot just now, which he has, and he'll play again against Mohammedan, then the one behind him's got to say, I need to push by Hnamte. But if he continues to perform at such a high level, then that will take care of itself.
Coach, I wanted to ask you about Farooq.
Yes.
He's played really well until you had Hnamte for, and he struggled to perform under other coaches. What is it that now that he's back in Chennai last season?
Yeah.
He's continued to perform.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think last season Farooq did really well at times. Then other times, and I speak with Farooq every day, so he'll forgive me for, he'll not forgive me, but he'll understand why I say this. There was times that Farooq never performed to the level I know he's capable of. Now, nobody's a bigger admirer of Farooq than me, because I seen him, my first game was against Jamshedpur for CFC, and I thought Farooq was the outstanding player in the Jamshedpur team that night. I actually scored the goal with his hand, but anyway, we'll forgive that now. But what you've got to remember is Farooq suffered a horrendous injury. You know, he was out for a year. He suffered the injury actually supplying the ball for Sunil Shetty to score such an important goal for the national team. So Farooq is an Indian international. And when you have these really serious injuries, you don't get to a place that you're going to start training and playing and you click your fingers and everything's back to the level you were at. Sometimes it takes time, sometimes it takes 6 months, sometimes it's 9 months. But the one thing I always say to Farooq is, I believe in him, I trust him, I kept playing because I know what he's capable of. And obviously, and the great thing is, because of the goals he scored, it elevated him to another level. But if you take the goals out of the game, Farooq was still outstanding for the team. And that's what I need. I need boys that are team players and play their part. But again, when attackers score goals, of course, it elevates you. But if Farooq can continue in that form, and that's the key, it's not about what he's done. I told him that's finished with. What he has to look ahead now, continue to keep bringing that level of performance. We're seeing young Irfan, who I love to bits, getting better and stronger. So all of a sudden, you maybe look and you think, wow, why is that one not in the team yet? Why is that? There's a number of reasons why there's 1 or 2 not in the team yet. But the competition for us is great, because if Farooq continues to perform at that level, if Irfan's going to continue to improve, to have another young Indian lad coming in and given what he's bringing to the team. So there's every, go back to your question, there's every chance if Farouk continues to perform, I would hope that Manolo's noticing that and looking to bring him. But it can't be in 1 or 2 games, it's got to be consistently over a period of time. And that's the thing I've found. And sometimes in Indian football, I think that some people have 2 or 3 good weeks and everybody raves about them. Yeah, your body of work has to be over a sustained period. It can't just be your 2 or 3 games. It's got to be a sustained period. But Farouk's shown that before, and hopefully now we'll see the very best of him this season. Yeah, sir. Yeah, no. Yeah, well, it's exciting because when you come up against new opponents, you want to know, you want to look at their strengths, is there weaknesses, you can exploit. What I have seen in 2 games is a team that's full of energy, full of passion, and you leave new to them, there's a newness about it, they're enjoying it, they can certainly pass and move the ball. The foreigners, I think, have done really well, you know, with the young Indian players they have. So they certainly, and they're a positive team, which I love. So whether now coming away from home, whether they change, because it's been 2 games at home. So whatever it is, then we have to be able to deal with that. If there's a team that's going to sit low against you, then we have to make sure we pick them off. If it's a team that's going to come stand toe-to-toe, then great, I hope they do. That's the games I like. Whatever it is, then we have to overcome. But what's good about us, I think, this season, is that I have different pieces now. I have different types. I mean, even when we look at the last game, obviously Kian been away with the national team and never get the minutes I hope they had. So now we try to build up the minutes for that. Lucas Brambilla had been ill for 2 or 3 weeks in pre-season, so I have somebody that can unlock defences when he comes in. Gurkarat as well had been injured the week prior, so we have good pieces. We need to change things, players ready, and those are all starters. Those are all waiting to try and push into that team. So it's a great problem to have, but what it does is, for me as a coach, if I need to change something, I have the personnel to be able to do that, depending how somebody plays against you. But for us, it's looking, as I say, to get to our best, be very respectful of the opposition. I think Mohamed will do very well. And certainly the other night, I mean, young Frank at the striker was outstanding. I think he had 9 attempts himself with 5 on target. So he's going to be a handful in the league for a lot of players. The little number 4 likes to get the ball off the back foot and dictate. 10 is a very good player. So, yeah, and obviously Choti and the wingers, Amarjeet, as I say, I know well. So, yeah, Mohamed will be a handful, but very respectful, but looking forward to the game. And knowing if we're at our best, then it's certainly a game that we can try and look to win those 3 points. Hi, sir.
Following up on the squad strength and the healthy competition within your team, I'd like to talk to you about the foreign strikers in your team. So obviously there are 2 who have already had ISL experience. Is that something you wanted specifically, and how do you see them gelling with the Indian option, everyone else?
Yeah, well, the answer to that is the gelling together is no issue. These are 2 wonderful, wonderful men, if I speak about them as people out with the football ability. And that's important. 1, that you bring good footballers to your club, but 2, that you bring good people. Because our structure, and Hnamte will tell you, is very much based on a team spirit and a team togetherness. And we have individual flair within that, but it's very much a togetherness and a work ethos. Everybody has a role to do. Jordan Gill, Daniel Shima, 2 wonderful strikers in the league. And again, everybody, as we do the nature of football, everybody looks, and everybody's an opinion, and they're entitled to that. Some are more informed than others, but everybody has their opinion. And they look and think, everybody wants, I want a top, somebody from a big league and this and that. Daniel Shima is a champion, not only in India, a champion in Norway, with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer at Molde. Jordan Gill's been all over the world, had a distinguished career, came into the league, scored loads of goals at North East in a team fighting down at the bottom. Came in last year, a Punjab team, getting to know the league, and did very well in the second half of the season, and Jordan was a huge part of that. So these 2 players are proven in the ISL. These are top strikers in the ISL. And what they are the type of player that suits how I want to play in terms of getting into strikers' feet and building from there, and they can both score goals. But they're both team players, and that's really important. And the mix, I mean, they're wonderful example how hard they work every day, and that's why they play to the level they have. because every day they come in, they're giving their very best. So I'm happy with my squad. I'm happy, delighted with my strikers. I know what they bring to the team. But of course, as a striker, and I was one myself, I was one that prided myself in working very hard for my team. And when I scored, then obviously, of course, that elevates you. And everybody wants to talk about goal scorers. But I have two strikers that can play, and even if they don't score, they still contribute to what we want to do as a team. And that's important. Because sometimes you have strikers that if they don't score, you look and you thought, what did they bring to the game? What did they bring to the team? My strikers aren't like that. My strikers, if they don't score, they've still contributed to the team because what they bring for the team.
Coach, do you think Northeast United's win in the Durand Cup has given hope to teams with lower budgets in the league?
Well, I think first and foremost, all credit to Northeast and a wonderful coach. Somebody's a really good friend of mine, and it's great to win the cup. And they won it. To be fair, you know, even if you just talk about the final, I think if you talk about the group stages, then not everybody was fully represented. So we have to give balance to that. That takes nothing away from to go to Moenbagen and put 2-0 down and come back and win a final. That's an outstanding performance in anybody. So I think that's gave North East a huge lift. In terms of other teams, I mean, it doesn't do anything with me whether North East win the Durand Cup or whether they don't. I know what I need to have here, as I did when I at CFC before, when I built a team at Jamshedpur. That's, if you want somebody to look and give you hope for a smaller club, just look at Jamshedpur winning the Shield, because that's a feat that's, not because I did it, we did it, but that's a feat that's truly remarkable given the spending compared to others. But that was based, again, on that team. We had really very good individual players within it, but the desire and the work rate and the effort of that team was an unbelievable achievement. So that should give it, again, that's another example. You mentioned North East winning Durand Cup, but that's a cup competition, you know, to do well in the league and everything else. And all those clubs, North East, if you think from last year, they've signed good players, have all invested well. And that's why I think this league is going to be really, really exciting. I mean, I think last year, in truth, in the first half of the season, there was probably 5 teams that got away, didn't they? They did a good start and they all got away with a gap, and the rest of us were all fighting for that playoff spot. And obviously we were the team that were able to do that with a strong finish, which we do. And now we look to now kick on again and be better this year again. So, yeah, wonderful for Juan Pedro Benali and North East. A great achievement. It's a good club with good people. And even behind the scenes, I like what North East are doing, because they're trying to build the academy. You can see they're going, I think they're even going to maybe play a couple of games at Shillong and different things. So I love that, because that's what we want to do. We want to grow the game. And I think North East are doing a wonderful job of doing that. But for us at Chennaiyin, we continue to grow, continue to develop, and look to be the best that we can be. So yeah, I think it's all to play for. It's such an exciting season, and that's the way we want it to be. We want to make sure that everybody feels that, you know, whatever game, oh yeah, I can win that game. And even last night, I felt North East were very, very harshly dealt with in respect of the result. They probably feel well. Mohammedan will feel well. They shouldn't have won against us, and then so listen. That's the nature of football. That's why, again, it goes back to my first point. Every action of the game, you need to be focused and concentrated on, because if you're not, you'll be punished in the ISL for sure.
Are there any injury concerns?
No, actually, we had a couple of injury concerns prior to the Odisha game, and now Jitwashaw's back and back in training. He trained flat out today, as did Bikash. Those were the two injury concerns there. So no, they've all trained today, which is great. God willing, we have a full squad training tomorrow, and then we'll pick a team that hopefully we feel can go and win a valuable 3 points against a very good Mohammedan side. Hi, sir.
2 questions. One, you always have a very strong finish to the season. But I wanted to know, is there a reason for it as a player?
Sorry, you have a strong
Finish. Generally.
a strong finish.
Yeah. Is
Okay.
there a reason for it? Is that they acclimatize to where you want to play, or is it just the result that they get to do with the game? Is there any specific reason?
Yeah, well, I think it's a very, very, very good question and very thought out. I mean, I said before, and it goes back to we design a pre-season, and obviously, as you see my grey hair, I've been doing it for a very long time, and we design a pre-season that's going to serve our club or whatever club we're at well for the duration of a season. So it's never about your first being ready for your first. You have to be ready for your first games, but it's making sure that come January or February you've not run out of steam and there's no spark, there's no. So we purposely design it that it's going to serve as well for the duration of the season. And it goes back to, I mean, when I and forgive me for going away back, but when I took Burnley into the Premier League, Burnley were, of the 24 teams in the Championship, Burnley were tipped to finish in the bottom three. One of the smallest budgets in the league, a bottom three budget. But obviously we took them to the Premier League. But within that, we also had amazing cup runs. So I love cup competition. Amazing cup runs. So much so that we used the fewest amount of players, of all 24 teams, we used the fewest amount of players for a number of reasons. One was financial. We didn't have the financial clout others had. But that season we played 61 games. 61. Because of how we prepare the pre-season, and it's able to serve you well. So that's why I know when we work here, what we design and how we go to work. Obviously, injuries play a part, but God willing, if you can stay injury-free, those boys are fit, they're athletic, and obviously you need a certain type to do it. And that comes again with your recruitment, looking at players, what suits how you want to be and how you want to play. And we think we've did quite well with that, given obviously our limitations in terms of spending compared to others. So hopefully again that will serve as well. But the great thing is if we can, which is an opportunity, because obviously we had a really poor start last year, which we knew would happen because we were coming into a club that hadn't been near the playoffs for years. Well, the last time was when we came in season 6. So we knew we had so much work to do, given that even in that period, you'd lost Vishal, you'd lost Tapa, you'd lost Hnamte, you'd lost Deepak. So there was a huge amount of work to do last year. And we started to get the work going, and and even as I said, this year in the pre-season, because teams play pre-season, I mean, maybe India's probably a bit more, when you look at other countries, for example, if I go back to England and you play pre-season, you lose a couple of games, it's pre-season, it's designed for a reason. But in India, a team loses a game in pre-season, they think it's the end of the world. It's pre-season, that's what it's for. That's what it's for, to get the work done, to get the fitness levels. And that's how it's designed for us to answer to your question, so that not only does it serve us in the short term, but it serves us long term. And hopefully we feel really strong in the second half of the season. Because if we are, and we would hope that we're in a decent position, because 7 out of our first 10 are away from home. So we have to make sure that we gather points to give us a good position to be in, to capitalise on those home games when they come about.
The second one is about Irfan. He was a very prolific striker, the lower leagues, thought out.
Yeah.
How do you look, and he's one year already in the ISL, so how do you look at his evolution coming into the top leagues and the challenge as a foreign striker?
Yeah, no, I think again, it's a challenge because everybody wants to play their foreign strikers. They spend big money, and you look at, certainly some of the big clubs, the money they've spent on top players. So then I think that becomes a challenge for the Indian number 9s. I would hope, I certainly shown last year, Raheem played through the middle, Irfan played through the middle, Farouk played through the middle at different times. And I would hope that I've shown that, I have the faith to do that with the Indian lads. If we just speak about Irfan himself as opposed to positions, Irfan has improved enormously from when I started working with him last year. And he scored some goals. He probably could and should have scored even more. But the great thing is, he gets himself in goal-scoring positions. His energy is incredible. Hnamte will tell you how hard he works at training, and I'm trying to speak to him on a daily basis to grow him, develop him. Because if we do, we're going to have a hell of a player. Because the natural enthusiasm, the energy for the game, the fact he can score goals, he's 6'2", he's good in the air. Even Adisha coming in from the back, he had a great header, just cleared the bar late on. He had a couple of shots were blocked. And every day in training he's shown that he really wants to stay in that team. So I've given him the opportunity, and it's up to Irfan now to continue to deliver on that. And if he does, then he'll stay in the team. I have no fear about that. As I said before, sometimes people are put in pedestals, or they earn a reputation. The reputation is now. It's not what you've done previously, it's what you do now. You get into my team in merit, and Irfan's doing that. And I look forward to him to continue to develop, hopefully continue to get the goals, and really push on in his career, because he's a lovely, lovely young man. Yes?
Hnamte, I'm Owen from ISL. You became fan favorite in the very first game, and now you are going to play in front of them. So will that be an added advantage or an extra boost?
This extra boost is really like it's good to play in front of the fans. So I'm very looking forward to play all the foreigners.
Hi, sir.
Hello, good. Hope you're doing good. So my question, we signed Lucas Domila to replace the new boots of Rafael Figueroa. And in the last match, we displayed a great football even without his inclusion. So in the upcoming matches, how are we going to include Lucas in the squad and make the team play more?
Yeah, I mean it's a brilliant question, but I kind of spoke to it a little bit earlier that we can have different ways of playing. But let me tell you, Lucas Barbia is a wonderful player, and he's getting close to being very difficult. He obviously has another bit of fitness to get sharpness in terms of minutes and everything else. But every day in training, he's looking better and better. And when he's at that level, then Lucas Barbia will play in the team and will adjust accordingly. So I have no worries about that. I have no fears about that. I'm looking forward to that because we want to be. As we were last week, we want to continue. We want to be an exciting team. We want to be a team that plays on the front foot. We want to be a team that's exciting, scores goals, gets the fans out of their seats, and Lucas Barbia will certainly be a part of that. But you're right. I mean, the boys that played in there last when Elsinho, obviously the Pura partnered Ryan, Elsinho anchored that because obviously Boumos was a threat, and then we had Hnamte with his energy and Connor. I mean, these two boys, the energy and the engines that Hnamte and Connor Shields bring. So we have different qualities within different players. So which is great for me as a coach to have the flexibility and the fluidity that if I need to change things or go in a different way, I'm able to do it. So I think it's a nice problem to have. But when you see Barbia, you will enjoy what you see for sure.
And coach, what's that one message to the lovely fans of Chennai ahead of the first home match?
To the fans?
Yeah.
Well, please keep coming. Bring your friends. I mean, I love the stadium anyway. The atmosphere, because we have the hardcore fans. We have our fan groups that they're amazing, and they get behind the team. And if we can bring friends, then we can create obviously a great atmosphere. So to the fans, thank you, certainly from me, because they've always been very supportive of myself. And hopefully, I can give you a team that you enjoy watching. And that's win, lose or draw, because our intent is always to win games. We're a team that likes to play in the front to try and go and win games. That will never change. So hopefully we can give them a team that's ultimately is representative of the fans. Because I would like the fans in the stand when they're watching to think, yeah, I enjoy that because they're giving their very best to me. Sometimes it won't go your way, sometimes you get a punch in the nose. But as long as they know the boys in the shirts are doing their very best to try and win football games for them. The Chennai fans have always been wonderful for their teams and their coaches have always backed them to the hill, and I thank them for that.
Thank you.
All good? Thanks very much. Thanks for your time. Let's get a picture. Stay there.
Hi, good afternoon.
Good to see you, sir.
Ashok Venugopal from New Indian Express. It's the first home game. Your team has always done home. What are the areas you're looking to improve on your home game?
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, we're delighted to be back at home. It seems a long time since we had a fantastic run at the end of last season, culminating in some super victories. So it'll be nice to get back in front of our own fans. It seems a long time since we played, obviously, Odisha. It's been 12 days. And so the scheduling certainly hasn't been kind to us. Well, teams all played 3 games by the same time. Mohammedan certainly 2 games